Today's daily recap for BTG Beyond the Gates is for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. And not a lot happened today, but we do have Ted. Everybody, I was actually kind of impressed with Ted. He invited Eva to come to the club with him as her guest. Now, I think this is the first time I have seen Ted either have breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the club. It was always Nicole meeting her parents at the club or her girl, dealing with Vanessa at the club. I never saw Ted really at that club leisurely. So Eva was nervous wearing some some churchy outfit, right? I thought, girl, you look uncomfortable in that. You could get dressed up without wearing something like that. But so when Ted saw her, she goes, I didn't know what to wear. So I wore this. And he goes, you look very nice. So they walk through the doors and everybody's staring at her. And then I guess there's the town gossip or the country beyond the gates gossiper, behind the gates gossiper. Uh Eva looks nervous, so Ted stops and he goes over to her and he puts his arm out. It burned my arm, everybody. That's what you saw. And he put his arm out and she put her hand through him, like holding on for dear life, right? And he escorts her to the table and he said, let me get this chair for you. And she sat down and she goes, everybody's staring at me. He goes, so? He says, look, they need to get used to seeing you here. They need to get used to seeing you with me. You are my daughter. I'm a member of this club and you belong here too. And I said, looky here. He is treating her like he treats Kat. Ted treats his daughters very well. Maybe a cheating scoundrel on his wife. But then again, that was 20 plus years ago. Okay? People do change. But anyway, um, Nicole, Danny had talked Nicole into just getting out her pajamas, getting off her couch, and coming out. So Danny and Nicole walk in, and who do they see at the table but Ted and Eva? And she's just like, oh no. So Ted jumps up and says, Nicole, you look very nice. I'm surprised to see. And as he's getting ready to say, see you here, Vanessa jumped up and says, oh, I need you for a minute. I gotta tell you something. So she whisked Nicole away to the table she was sitting at because Danny was eyeing Eva and Ted the whole time since he walked in. And so was that gossiping chick. So she takes Nicole to the table. She goes, I was just trying to get you away from Ted. And so Nicole said, thank you. She said, I knew Ted would want to get to know his daughter, Eva. And there's nothing wrong with that. She said, but seeing it just face to face right now, this shook me. And so Vanessa says, no, I know it would. And, that's why I got you over here. So, of course, Danny had to spout off as Danny. How dare you bring her to the same country club that your wife eats at regularly and blah, blah, blah. And Ted goes, I'm a member here, right? And I brought my daughter, you know? So Danny goes and sits down. She says something flippant and she goes to sit down, sits down. So Eva's like, oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so nervous. And he goes, don't worry about it, Eva. Well, the gossipy chick comes over and makes a comment about Eva's dress. How you wearing some church outfit that, oh my goodness, something she said to put her down. Something Kat would have said, right? And then she walks away. So Ted looks at her and then she walks away. My whole thing is I never would have let her walk away. I would have said, look, We all know you, the little town gossip, but I think you need to keep your comments to yourself or keep them spreading amongst whoever else will listen to you. Because if you ever say something rude like that to my daughter again, we gonna have a problem. He should have done that. Don't I have never been one to let rudeness just come to me and feel they have a right to be rude to me because oh my goodness, now I have flipped the switch, y'all. Because I'm gonna be just as rude to you as you are to me, if not ruder. So uh Eva says, you know what? I knew I didn't belong here. So she jumps up and she runs out. Now at Orphe Jeans, there was something weird going on today. There was this guy, it's a white guy, sitting at the bar. I mean, the counter at Orphe Jeans, they do have a side counter that overlooks the sidewalk, with people walking by. He was there, and quite frankly, he was there, I think, watching, what's her name? Ashley's mother, her name is Jan. She was watching, I think he was watching Ashley's mother. But then he's just taking note of Leslie comes up and tries to, my friend. She goes, oh no, I'm not friends with you. Mona told me all about what happened. She goes, shame on you. You sat there and just wanted us to just fill you in on the debris. I'm poor Nicole. No. Oh, she tries to, our friendship. She goes, what friendship? I don't even know who you are. Right? Oh, that's just Mona. Mona's filling your head. Now, mind you, Martin and his grandpa Vernon were sitting at a booth and they're hearing this whole exchange, right? And she goes, Leslie was being Leslie. And so Jan was like, no, we are not friends. Mm-mm. After what you did, no. And if you plan on eating here today, you're going to have to move because Mona had sat in the seat. I mean, Leslie has sat in the seat next to Jan. And Jan says, you're going to have to move to another seat. And Martin and Vernon kind of like, whoa, right? So Leslie like goes and she sits down at a table, soaking, stewing. Well, Eva comes in distraught. Mama, you were right, Mama. I don't belong in this world, in their world. Now, for one thing, Leslie had been saying, you need to take your rightful place. Everything they have is yours, right? So she goes, Mama, I want things to be the way they were, just you and me. It was just you and me against the world, and we were close. And Leslie's looking at her like, I don't know you, right? And she goes, Mama, I want to come home, Mama. Can't we? And people are hearing her saying, Mama. And Vernon and Martin, they're looking at Eva begging her mother, and they're looking at each other like, whoa. And she goes, look, you chose the parent you wanted to be with. Mama, no, I love you, but I just didn't want to hurt my dad. He's good to me, Mama. She goes, he turned his back on us. She goes, would you stop saying that? He didn't even know I was alive, Mama, all these years. It doesn't matter. He wanted me to have an abortion, and I didn't. He treated me badly, but Eva said, but he did not know I existed. And he's been nothing but nice to me. Nicole was nothing but nice to me too. She goes, get up. So she even puts her hand across the table onto Leslie's hand, and Leslie cringes back and pulls her hand away from Eva, and Eva looks like, oh. So she moves her hand. Now, the way Leslie reacted when Eva Pan barely glazed her hand or grazed her hand, was how Ted should have reacted when Leslie was doing all this yesterday, all that, right? When somebody repulses you, you react repulsed. You see? But I felt bad for Eva. And Leslie told her, no, you ain't coming home. You ain't no daughter of mine. Oh, she gets up and goes to the bar area, stool area, but across from Jan, across the whole bar counter area way. And Eva's just sitting at the table, like looking humiliated and just hurt, rejected. Martin comes over. Martin said, listen, you do not deserve to be talked to like that. A parent might be upset at their child. He says, but Eva, they still should show love and they still should show some support, not rejection. And the way she talked to you was out of line. You're worth more than that. He goes, I just want you to know. Right? I hate the way she did that. So he goes back and he sits down. And Eva takes up her purse and she goes out of Orphe jeans crying. Vernon goes over to Leslie and said, how dare you talk to? And this is supposed to be your child? See, that's what I'm saying. That ain't really a kid. How dare you talk to her like that? I feel sorry for her. He says, but here's the thing. See, this is what's going to happen to you. You just rejected the one person who still loved you. He says, and one day, you're going to need her. And he just turned and he walked away. And I don't need nothing from none of y'all now. Because Jan even came over and gave her a piece of her mind. Saying, oh, see, you told us you were raising Eva, because her mother died. She says, but then now we find out she's your actual daughter. And she goes, and this is how you talk to her? She says, oh, no. No mother should ever talk to their child that way. And Dana goes, I'm sick of all y'all in here. Okay? See, I ain't done yet. I got something else coming for all y'all. And I thought, oh, see, here we go. I don't know what she expects she's going to get from all that kind of activities. And then we have Doug lost his little shirt last night. And Joey walks in. Doug is getting ready to leave. And he goes, going so soon? He says, oh, I didn't do so well last night. He goes, yeah, that's the story of your life. So long story short, Joey told him, look, you're a horrible poker player, right? He said, good for me, bad for you. He said, but guess what? Right now, you are so far in debt to me, I'm cutting you off. No more coming into my casino, playing anything. He says, but then how am I going to make the money to pay you back? Joey looked at him and said, in the last few months you've been gambling, you haven't made enough to pay me back, or the last month. Because remember, Doug hit it big, and instead of putting a big chunk down, he didn't, right? He gave him the option about the money laundering through Vanessa's firm. And he goes, I'll never do that to Vanessa. I'll never get involved. So Joey says, well, I'll tell you this. you got 1 week to pay me all my money. Don't make me look for you. Because he said, look, I'll come to your home. He goes, matter of fact, let's call Vanessa right now. I got her on speed dial. He goes, no, Vanessa is not involved in this. So he goes, 1 week. How am I supposed to? I can't even operate yet. How am I? He goes, oh, whoa, whoa, that's your problem. Yours and yours alone. I offered you an out. You didn't want to take it. I offered you an out suggestion. He goes, because you convinced Vanessa to let me run money through her properties. Your debt is poof, gone instantly. And Doug just looked at him. Yeah, okay. Right? Now, the one thing I did not like, or not that I didn't like it, Martin and Vernon were talking about. Martin said he's not going to run for president because with what happened with his father and that whole scandal came out, he goes, I can't put my mother through the rigorous, like background digging that would be done. He says, for one, my father's affair would come out. That would be thrown in my mother's face again. He says, I can't humiliate her anymore or have it humiliate her anymore. He goes, Kat and I were with her last night, Dad, and I realized I need to spend more time with my family. And if I run for president, I'm going to be gone on the campaign trail. I want to have dinner with them. And he said, and Granddad, I had a horrible nightmare of that night earlier today. And Vernon looks around. You mean if he goes, yeah, from what happened? And Vernon's like looking around. And I'm like, Vernon lives behind the gates in a private home. Why would you even bring up some dirty little secret of Martin's that there's even one to uncover in a public place? In a public place. They're bad with that in soaps. Horrible. Right? So anyway, now we don't have to deal with the whole running for Congress crap. Um, Let me see. I think that is it. Yep, that's it, everybody. For Beyond the Gates, let's go to Oh, and for my Beyond the Gates and General Hospital folks, this Saturday, May 17th, live YouTube live stream. Comic Corner for General Hospital. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is 7 p.m. Central time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time. Go ahead, come on, let's talk about General Hospital. And that's it. So I'll be back tomorrow for another daily recap of Beyond the Gates.